welcome to the Becoming Sovereign podcast put on by Sovereign. I'm your host, Brandon Karpeles, aka Plebeian on Noster. And before we get going here, we're a couple episodes behind on reading the Value for Value. And this week I just put out sort of my thoughts on the whole cold card situation. We didn't get into any of that. So going back 2 episodes ago, my episode with None Your Business, aka David Bennett, Rev Hodl boosted 420 sats on that one. So thanks, Rev. And on the last episode I had with Stacy, I apologize here. The actual text is not coming up, but those that boosted were Eric FJ for 1,110 sats, Bullish Bitcoiner 332 sats, and Pleb to Polymath zapped 12 sats. So, here we go. Finally, the comments loaded. All right. So Bullish said, LFG Stacy, she was my guest, the wonderful hairstylist or barber or whatever you want to call her here in Chicago, adding the Bitcoin Nova to my hashtag 21 HPW. So Bullish not getting that 440 HPW, but close enough. Heart and shaka emoji. Eric FJ has said, breathe. Great positive discussion, Stacy and Brandon. Thanks, Eric. And I know you and Stacy just announced a collaboration as well. So excited for you guys on that. And that was all the comments we had for that. And so thank you to our boosters. And this week we have 2 guests. So becoming more of a theme on this show, adding multiple guests on here, and they are a group that's near and dear to my heart as a resident of, sadly, a resident of Illinois. Today with me are Jeff Hilsenbeck and Tim Niemeyer from the Illinois Bitcoin Council. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. So you guys put on a great event last Saturday at the Chicago Bitcoin Collective, and unfortunately I had to show up a little late. So I think you guys did a presentation at the beginning, and I apologize that I missed that. Obviously, just some small things going on in the Bitcoin space, and given what we do at Sovereign and the friends and family around us, unfortunately, some people were affected by that situation, and it was a weekend of full-on triage. And but it was wonderful to get some time to carve out to come to the event and actually just be around other people that actually could understand the pain and the horror that you were dealing with, and actually felt a sense of camaraderie amidst a sea of true darkness out there. So 1, thank you guys for putting on that event, and 2, why don't you maybe just give a recap of the event and what you guys are ultimately trying to do at the IBC, the Illinois Bitcoin Council, and why you're going out putting events on like this.
Well, I'll kind of back up and start with the IBC, and Jeff, if you want to take the August 1st from there. Jeff and I started just over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, by the beginning of the formulation of the idea of having a council. So we're a 501c6, we're a trade organization, nonprofit, nonpartisan. We started with the pillars of education, advocacy, and collaboration. We started with the idea of building out educational tools like curriculum for homeschoolers and for small to medium businesses. We started advocating. So I'm a Springfield resident. I'm downstate in the state capital. So I do a lot with meeting with different politicians. We hosted workshops for the House Republicans. We've been on phone calls and on Zoom calls across the board, advocating for Bitcoin and also for Bitcoin projects. We collaborate with the Bitcoin Scholarship Foundation, Andrew Tillman's scholarship that gives kids $250 in Bitcoin and provides financial literacy, across their lifetime. the All Guild Bitcoin Reserve, Tobias Shepard's Community Bitcoin Reserve. And we collaborate with a lot of different groups trying to help not just bring Bitcoin businesses to Illinois, but just really painting the state orange, wanting to make sure that individuals, businesses, and the like find Illinois a good place to set up shop. And about somewhere in the last year, we decided we need to start getting these people in the room. So, Jeff, if you want to take over from there.
Yeah, so this was the whole idea of what we did on August 1st was to get industry leaders from the Bitcoin community together along with some of our politicians. Unfortunately, we had quite a few that of the politicians that wanted to or did RSVP that they were going to come, but unfortunately they backed out at last minute, which was disappointing and unfortunate. But just to get everyone together, kind of like get some high-level signal together here in Illinois, just to try to start moving this needle and getting kind of a game plan of like how do we move the state forward to at least being very pro Bitcoin, pro digital assets. And the digital asset tax that was passed back in June, which is kind of a huge setback in my opinion. And so it's something that we're going to have to tackle. It's going to be definitely an uphill battle for us at the IBC and for every Bitcoiner here in Illinois. So that's the main goal of what we did on August 1st. So just trying to get everyone together.
Yeah.
Which
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
No, which we did. I think we're bearing the lead here. We did it, like you mentioned, with the Chicago Bitcoin Collective, but we did it at Fork and Coin. For anybody in and around Chicago, you got to go to Portage Park, got to go to Fork and Coin. It's Chicago's first Bitcoin co-working space, so it's a restaurant downstairs, Japanese-style restaurant, and upstairs they have a co-working space, and it's just it's in a wonderful place, great vibe. The food there is amazing. Chef Voice, he is just unbelievable at what he does, and the staff is amazing. So shout out to them. They made that night happen.
Yeah,
I still
everyone.
can't rave about the steak. That was amazing.
A hanger steak, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the food there is 10 out of 10.
Easy.
I had the pleasure of going to they had an event there the other night, that Izakaya night, and it was a sampling of hanger steak and chicharrones and cucumber salad, and all in that kind of Japanese theme, as you mentioned. I don't know if boys would get mad if we called it Japanese. I don't know, like Japanese inspired something. Yeah. I don't know, but it's a 10 out of 10, whatever it is. And if you're ever passing through Chicago, definitely make it a destination to head over to Fork and Coin to get some food. Unfortunately, right now, I know some people came in like a week or so ago, and the restaurant wasn't fully open then, limited opening, but soon enough, before
Grand
long,
opening is the 8th.
yeah, it'll be full-time open before you know it. And so definitely, if and when you stop in Chicago, make it a point to get out there.
Absolutely.
But I was curious. I want to get back to the my favorite topic, politicians. God bless you guys for dealing with them, because I just, even being around them makes me like extra jittery and triggered. So what has been the reception in the state overall, and then we'll get to the tax. Let's start there. What is the general reception been from our politicians in this fine state?
I'm probably aligned with you politically, and being around politicians in a way. I would think as we all know, the state is very blue, left leaning, and unfortunately, anything that's pro Bitcoin is deemed as pro Trump, and with Pritzker being the governor, it's anything trying to promote Bitcoin is dead in the water. So the left is very, I don't want to say
Hostile.
open-minded. Yeah, fair enough. It's hard to have meaningful conversations because a lot of them, they see what their leadership says and thinks about it. And obviously, even if it made sense. Are they going to go against party lines? You know, that's the politics of it, right? It's been politicized, for better or worse. On the right, there's obviously more acceptance, but across the spectrum, the knowledge level is just not there. And I mean, yes, we can fault
It's
politicians
subpar.
all they want to do things, but specifically on this, it's just still so new that they don't even understand, you know, uppercase Bitcoin versus lowercase Bitcoin, for example.
Yeah, so it's even if they had constituency buy-in or it wasn't politicized, if it was kind of just apolitical, they wouldn't even know what to do or where to start or have any
No,
idea. Yeah,
no.
yeah. So what?
Most everybody knows a ticker on the screen. That's
Yeah,
oh, Bitcoin's down. So why are you still? It's like what?
yeah. What are you still doing here? So what
Yeah.
what inroads have you made? Like, has there been an increased education? Is there
Yeah.
any opening of the mind? Hey, listen, I understand how this may be valuable for my constituents, but it's just too politically charged right now. What's been your experience there?
Yeah. So like I said, we had a workshop with the House Republicans, and that went very well. That was back in February when we were also pushing two pieces of legislation. I mentioned the Alt Guild Bitcoin Reserve. There was actual Community Bitcoin Reserve Act, and we advocated for that. It was a mixed bag. We had some good, some bad on the left, mostly good on the right, but some very big pushback from the left leadership. Mainly, we don't have the money, and even if we did, why would we go gambling, so to speak? Uh, we also tried to promote the municipality digital asset municipality investment act, because currently the state is not municipalities in the state are not allowed to invest in Bitcoin or Bitcoin related products. So we just wanted to kind of clear the road, which was a companion to the Community Bitcoin Reserve to kind of grease the wheels to allow communities to go ahead and start investing. Both of those just died on the floor. They didn't go anywhere. We didn't expect much. This is our first time around, but it did give us good connections. We have sponsors in place for the next round, which we're going to be pushing a digital Bill of Rights, similar to what you see in Indiana, Utah, where else? New Hampshire, I believe. There's a few states that have that going on. So that's going to be kind of like self-custody is one part of it. Mining can be another part of it. No CBDCs, you know, the things that you see across, and I can kind of get into that if you're interested. But
Developer rights.
just a digital Bill of Rights across the board. And we already have somebody in the House and somebody in the Senate who's willing to sponsor. But that's going to be down the road. Nothing's going to happen in the next so many months.
So when you're talking to these politicians, and you said that a portion of the folks on the right were behind it, but on the left not so much. What is the people that are getting behind it? Is it truly just the flip side of what we were talking before, where like it's been politicized and it's like, hey, my team's against this and my team's for it, so my team's for it, I'm good? Or are they actually like, oh no, I understand that we have the worst pension crisis in the country in this state, and we have massive debt obligations, and I get the value proposition that Bitcoin could bring to this. It could bring jobs, it could bring business. It's a hard money, and we're unfortunately the states aren't allowed to make money, so we're at the whims of the federal government, and we would like to have a harder, a better currency. Is there any of that, or
Yeah,
is it all just truly
it's both.
right?
It's
Okay.
both actually. Senator Steve McClure, he's very open-minded. He works on pensions, so the first time I met with him, we talked about Bitcoin and pensions, and definitely opened his eyes. And he was still like new to the thing, so obviously he didn't want to commit. But it got the gears turning, and we've had many conversations. And he's actually the sponsor of the municipalities bill that we put forth. So yes, there's going to be more of a reaction to be like, yeah, let's support it because our side does for the right. But yet there's still some free thinkers inside there. And it's easy when you line up, we know Bitcoin, Bitcoin fixes this, right? So if I'm talking to somebody on energy, I focus on that with them. If I'm talking on pensions, I focus on that with them. And I think, the truth shall set you free. If you get that right information in front of the right people, it's hard not to see how Bitcoin is beneficial. And the same is true on the left, like you said, inverted. There's been a number of conversations where I talked about what's better for the individual, like when we talk to lower income neighborhoods, politicians lower income, bringing up the bottom, supporting everybody. When free of not censorship, but free of Bitcoin doesn't care about your race, your gender, blah blah blah. You go down that rabbit hole with them, and they're like, "Oh, I can see that," but then they're kind of held back by their party. So it's a lack of education and the party politics on either side.
So during our event on August 1st, I was really hoping to have a conversation like this, like a really in-depth conversation with some of the representatives and senators, if they would have come. Because I think if you break it down, and if they could truly understand what Bitcoin is trying to do, and as the asset increases in value, and if you tie that in with like the big bond, and that's specifically what I was hoping to speak to them about, is just like, hey, here's this idea for a bit bond that let's use this as a tool for the state, and this could be the way where we could start correcting the pension deficit and start digging ourselves out of this hole, because we know this is going to happen. And unfortunately, I think the tendency is that when the state is looking at the budgets, and I'm not really into the whole politics, I'm just kind of speaking of what I think is happening. They're just looking, hey, we need to fill this gap in our budget for this year. We're going to increase the taxes. That'll, based on our current GDP, this will generate so much tax revenue. It'll fill that. But then the flip side is that, and I see this all the time where I live, as families have their kids and they graduate from high school, I see so many families just leave altogether. They sell their homes, they take their businesses, and they move out of state because it's going to save so much in taxes. And then it's a negative feedback loop. The revenue goes down, and so then now you have a bigger budget deficit. So now let's raise the taxes again, and then you go through the cycle where it's people are going to start leaving again. So it's what we've had 7-8 years of negative population decline in the state, something like that.
Yeah,
so
I don't
it's
see
like
that changing
we gotta.
anytime soon.
I mean, we just can't be little Dutch boys sticking our fingers into the dam trying to plug these holes. It's like you gotta fix the dam.
Well, and to me, that's the high time preference mindset at work. I'm needing to get elected. I'm needing to make sure that I give people what they want, so to speak, or what they think they want. And you got this long-term, low time preference asset that is volatile in the short term. And if they don't time that right, then they're out of a job the next time around. So the reality of the situation pushes against them moving forward with a low time preference.
Yeah, and it's just this isn't any novel insight or anything, but it just you see what's going on in New York, and you see what's going on in California, and it's unequivocal that these policies are disastrous, and people are fleeing. The tax base is going down, yet the people in power don't actually care, because they just want to be in power, and they live in their gated communities, and they have their security details, and they enrich themselves by those positions of power. And if they actually got the problems of the state or city corrected, they would be out of power, and then they would become less wealthy, even though the state would flourish. And it's this like sick, messed up incentive
Yeah.
system, or whatever you want to call it, where
Feedback loop.
feedback loop where it just like, people get so mad. How could you do this? And you're watching your policies fail. They're like, yeah, we know our policies suck. We know we're never going to fix homelessness. We absolutely know, but if we keep doing this, people will vote for us, and then I'll be wealthy, and then I can move to Florida and have my beachfront property. And it's like, it's so sick and evil and dark and depraved, and not to get too spiritual or anything here, but like, such as fallen man, and our greed and all the other vices we have. But it's just, have you guys like given any thought to like is there a way to reverse this, to get through to politicians, to like, you know, is there an incentive other than, hey, it'll be good for like the state and your constituency? Because like as far as I can tell, they almost don't care.
I mean, I guess I'm being cynical here, but yeah, it's about them and their job and their power. And it's like, as this continues to grow, like what I read somewhere that 1 in 4 Americans own some form of digital asset. I know that Coinbase said that in the state of Illinois, 10% of every Illinoisan has a Coinbase account, right? So I just, and you've seen the bell curve of like the early adopters, the innovators, the early adopters, and we're just getting in that chasm. I think we get to a tipping point. I have no idea when that is, next year, 5 years, 10 years, where it's so on them to get this right. I mean, we could be there with clarity. I mean, obviously, like Trump just today approved the new ethics language, so they're trying to get it in on the skin of their teeth. Not that the clarity has much to do with Bitcoins per se, but it's the personal incentive for them, the professional incentive for them, is really what it. I mean, I remember Alex Gladstein years ago, that whole number go up equals freedom go up, and it's like we're taking like inherent greed and turning it into positive outcomes. So, like we all got into it. Did we all get into it for the tech first? Some of us, maybe. But, we get into it for the number go up, and then we realize all the benefits. So maybe that takes time to get through the political apparatus to where that number go up. Once they're connected, then they start to see all of these other second order effects. Or that's at least the hope.
Yeah, how does Bitcoin make you, the politician, wealthy? That almost has to be the pitch.
Perhaps. But to go back to your question, Brian, I think, which was, how do we get politicians to listen to us? That really is about, this is kind of the goal and the hope of the IBC, as we grow our membership and grow the businesses, that we become the voice for all the Bitcoiners and all the business owners that do accept Bitcoin. As our numbers grow, our leverage with the politicians will grow as well. And that's important to us as an organization, so that we can be that voice for everyone. And if we get large enough as an organization, yeah, they're going to have to listen to us. They will.
Yeah, especially if you get to the point where you can like, you know, buy a seat at one of their fundraisers or something. No, I'm just joking. I'm not.
Hey,
But you got to play the game, and that's part of it. So it's this the whole sly roundabout way of taking the system down, and that's kind of what we need to do. I mean, am I wrong or am I right? I don't know, but we got to do something.
I don't know. I
I
honestly don't. That's why I'm glad people like you exist, because I don't want to think about this stuff. So
well, and
I
I think my
appreciate
answer
the
to
work you're
that,
doing.
yeah, thank you. My answer is you know the whole concept of an orange pill. You give medicine to a body to make the body better. So it's like, should we be? I know there are some in Bitcoin that are like, don't mess with politics at all, leave it out. But my thing is like, if it is indeed an orange pill and there is like restorative properties inside of it, then it's incumbent on us to give it to that body, to the body politic.
Yeah,
Sorry, as I
it's
duck away, but you know what? So for August 1st,
go ahead.
and Tim gave me his copy, and I bought one for myself. But this book by Jason Meyer, I read this for one specific reason, because it is written for progressives. It's written for the left. And I don't really find myself left or right. I don't feel like I have a party. But I wanted to read this just so that I could understand from a left perspective, how would you view Bitcoin and what can it do? And it's a great book. Honestly, it's like, after reading, I'm like, there's a lot in common that we have, both on the left and the right. And as far as like the Libertarian Party, if you consider yourself that, but there's so much information in this book that it's like, I'm like, dude, just get this book into the Democrats' hands here in Illinois, and it would probably do a lot of good in moving the needle down in Springfield. So if you haven't read it, I'm pitching it for Jason, but I don't know him. But it's a very well written book.
Yeah, I found, honestly, as I'm up in Chicago. So you said earlier, Tim, that this state is blue. The state's actually very red. It just
Well,
there's
geographically,
Yeah.
it's predominantly red.
Yeah.
But population, specifically in Chicago, is predominantly blue.
Yes. So Chicago, basically, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm sure most know, but runs this entire state. The governor spends all his time in Chicago, no matter which party he's in, and that's unfortunately just kind of the way this state works. You have a giant metropolis that is swaying how many people live in very, very different circumstances. And but I bring that up to say that as I live in Chicago and as I meet people, obviously I'm an outlier, that I'm not a hardcore leftist. I agree with Jeff. I'm not really part of a party. I'd consider myself more libertarian or anarcho-capitalist or whatever.
Orange Party.
Yeah, Orange Party, exactly. Kind of anti-government, period, anti-state. But that is what I have found being here, is getting those talking points that do resonate with people on the left, and getting those through to them, and start talking about situations where it's empowering women's rights or dissidents in tyrannical governments, and et cetera, and having that ammo to be armed with to go to these folks. I have found that helps with inroads for sure. But have you guys been finding the same thing, or is it just still
100%.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, obviously, you look at the legislator, their district, also what committees they're on, and then you try and form your talking points around that. But then but the cool thing about Bitcoin is there's these universals like censorship resistance. I could have that same conversation with somebody on the right, and I just bring up the Canadian truckers thing, right? And they're like, okay, I get it. But then somebody on the left, I can just make a hypothetical, like, what if you said something anti-Trump and he turned off your bank account or whatever? Oh, look, we got a censorship-resistant money over here. The arguments, while there are specific arguments, and yes, we do tailor to each legislator, there are universal arguments, and those need to be said also. So everybody, if somebody from the left and the right come together, they have some kind of shared understanding that it's not just a tool for me or a tool for you, it's a tool for everybody.
I agree with that, Tim. The other aspect that you might want to consider is both sides, left and right, will talk about wealth inequality, but each one has different tactics of addressing that issue. Whereas, the left is going to tend to want to have more like wealth distribution, confiscation of wealth, and then trying to redistribute it. Whereas on the right, they're looking at, hey, you know what, we need to have more hands-off approach and let the market forces kind of take care of that. We know
Cut
that's not
spending.
obviously
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, we definitely have the K-shaped economy. So the one thing that Bitcoin does address is wealth inequality, and that's one thing that in Jason Meyer's book, that's a huge chapter is wealth inequality, and that's the reason why Tobias has started the ABR, and he's trying to get that because that is addressing the wealth inequality for his community, and it's a brilliant idea. It truly is, and it would be very budget neutral, especially a few years down the road when you really think about mathematically what he's doing. It's like, hey, just put a little bit of capital into our community. We're going to time lock it, and then we're going to slowly trickle that out into the community down the road, 5, 10 years down the road. It's that long.
We already have, yeah, we already have the ARMA. We already have the national stockpile, if you will, all that. We have states doing Bitcoin reserves, and if Bitcoin is really for the sovereign individual, let's keep bringing that down decentralized, and allowing communities to do the same. It's just logically consistent with the whole ethos of Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear there's at least some reception and maybe some progress being made, even if it's a total slog. But so, what would you say? Have you guys set goals at the council, or like benchmarks or things you're working towards, or anything like that to sort of like step it along the way?
Membership is we finished our first year. We got our feet wet. We've established ourselves. Got 50 members roughly. Membership is the next push, and Jeff and I are now kind of now that we've got, well, the whole Illinois digital asset tax kind of sidelined us for a bit. Early on in the year, we had to hit the brakes and pay attention to what's going on there, and but now we're to a point where we're going to continue to push this idea of a Chicago Merchants Network, and to help develop a membership, but also help Bitcoin and Lightning adoption in Chicago. So that idea is reaching out, having all of our volunteers, all of our members reach out to their favorite locations, whether it's restaurants or whatever, shops, and just kind of introduce them to the idea, hand out a flyer that we're handing out to them, and trying to get them in that funnel to where we can be sending them information. We can be educating them along the way and providing resources and connections in the Bitcoin industry, and really trying to make Chicago a hub despite what's going on with the whole tax issue.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, as someone who is trying to help onboard merchants along with many other classes of folks and organizations, it's I mean, it's tough, but I'm just one person, and like, having
Right.
50 or 100 people out there, boots on the ground, I would love to see some more serious gains in this city,
Well,
for sure.
and it benefits everybody, because the more individual members we have, the more places they're going to talk about it, be willing to spend sats. The more merchants we have, that helps as well. So when we go to, like Jeff mentioned earlier, when we go to politicians, we have not just individuals, we represent also the business, the industry, and that helps us advocate much more effectively, I would think. So
100%.
membership is where it's at right now. Is really trying to drive that, get up into the hundreds, 1,000 within a 2 to 3 year window would be nice.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and so what we all right, yeah, I want to back up and talk about this tax thing. It just makes me so angry.
Yeah.
But what for those that don't know, why don't you just explain real quickly what exactly is being proposed? I think everyone knows
Sure.
I think it's a 0.2% tax or a 0.02% tax on every single transfer, not just
Every
a
transaction.
purchase or a sale or anytime you move any Bitcoin, you have to record it and then pay a 0.2% or whatever it is tax on it.
0.2%.
0.2%.
Yep.
Okay. And
transaction, like, yeah, where you go from whether it's to an exchange, from an exchange, if it's a if it's a gain or a loss, if it's a non-monetary, like if you spend it out of state and then transfer to a buddy in state and back, all of those are getting taxed, and there's so many things wrong with this, constitutionally, technically, financially. There, and I was talking to a legislator who was supposedly intimate with the whole budget process. They had no clue of all of these issues built into it. So it was one of those things, this tax, this overall budget was passed in the middle of the night. It was just party line, just push it right through. It reminded me of the old, I think it was Pelosi, that's like, we got to pass the bill to see what's in it.
to find out what's in
Kind
it,
of thing.
yeah, classic.
It felt like that. So yeah, I don't know if I covered it.
No, that's great. And
That-
go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was gonna say that's a good summary of the bill.
Yeah, and so what are your current efforts to help fight back against it?
So we
Tim's the man on
have
this one.
Yeah, this all happened when Jeff was on a vision quest with his son. He was.
It was a Boy Scout trip out to Philmont. If anybody was in Boy Scouts,
They're giving out
I was
psychedelics.
disconnected
on
from the
voice
real
trips
world for
Yeah.
a while.
He
And
he got connected
I literally-
to about how many?
I
How many-
got for like for the 9-day trek that we were out there. I only had internet connection. I think twice when I got high enough on the mountain. One day I'm like just the phone was blowing up. I was like, what is going on? I was like, what the fuck? And then
Yeah,
it's like,
so-
well, I got to turn it off and hike down the mountain now, and I
Yeah.
don't know what'll
So I was flying
deconnect me
solo
again.
for a while there, but yeah. So we started a group with just kind of a work together with the Illinois Blockchain Association, Stand with Crypto, and the Digital Chamber, just to make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes and we're all sharing the same information. So the idea is to educate, advocate, and legislate and litigate are basically the four pillars, and we're focusing on the education. So the IBC is writing a weekly Substack. I can share that with you, and each week it focuses on a different reason why this tax is stupid, I guess, for simplicity's sake.
Yeah, and the other idea too is like we're working with the other organizations. And Tim's done a lot of outreach with them, is because we're all in the same boat, and it's kind of your enemy of your enemy is your friend. But I think this, we as Bitcoiners are going to believe that Bitcoin is the true cryptocurrency, and all the altcoins, if you want to call them shitcoins, go ahead. But it's just they're what do you say? Like they're pre-coiner or they're pre-Bitcoiners, and they just
Yeah,
don't know it yet. So it's like,
Yeah.
so it's like we got to work with them as well, because it's going to affect them in their beliefs. If they want to, if they're XRP, whatever, to each their own. But it's like
It's going to hit them too.
we got to work. We got to work together to basically overturn this tax. And it's
Right.
it's
And so what they're doing, so the Illinois Blockchain Association and the Digital Chamber actually put forth a lawsuit against the state. It's actually a really cool explanation. I won't go into it here, but I want to share. We have a dedicated section of our website to this, and like the basic idea here is why this is what the lawsuit actually says is, so a man in Austin buys a coffee and pays a friend back for something. Illinois may have just taxed both. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So now you can see how this can turn out to be kind of hairy. But so they're focused on the legislation right now. We're also advocating, I've been reaching out to all the all the legislators in the state. And the Digital Bill of Rights I referred to earlier is also the legislative response to this to try and get some rights in the state. And then this goes into effect January 1st. Here's the fun part about the tax. There's a Class 3 felony attached to any broker think of like an exchange or whatever, any broker that doesn't comply. But the Department of Revenue hasn't even written the rules yet. So how can you like know
There's
if
nothing to
you're gonna
comply with. Yeah.
right, right, right.
Right.
So hopefully in the next few months, they start opening up for feedback, and that's when we're going to start advocating more and sending out to our members and trying to really push, explaining, having people contact their legislators, explaining why this is a bad idea, and hopefully the Substack will give them like a checklist of like this is why it's wrong here, 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 and here. So
Yeah, it's really
the
well
thought,
done. And
thank
no,
you.
just reach out to your representatives and your senators. From the Substack. It's really well done. It's laid out, makes it real easy, for anybody to reach out and make that connection. Highly recommend it.
And then if nothing happens as of January 1st, there is going to be a follow-up litigation, by other groups that are other parties. The other aspect of this that I find interesting, there's a tax attorney in Chicago, Andrew Gordon. He focuses on digital assets. His idea, along with our board member Mark Hurley, they've been talking of a federal preemption. So I don't know, but like you, Brandon, you have kids, so you.
I have a kid and a second on the way. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
About
Congrats.
to have kids. Yes.
So your kid doesn't get something they want from mom, they go to dad, right? You know that whole, or vice
Oh, of
versa.
course. Vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm usually the
So,
one saying
okay.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Same here. So think about that, like with the federal preemption. So back in the 90s, the internet, states were trying to balkanize the internet and like make 50 different toll booths out of the internet, and that got shot down federally. So the thought is, why not do that with digital assets, where right now they're trying to create 50 different toll booths. Each state gets to tax what they want, and then it really slows down digital asset commerce, if you will. So doing a roundabout, going to dad instead of mom, or vice versa, we can try and push for a federal preemption so that states don't have that right to tax.
Yeah. I mean, for those that don't know, Illinois is like the poster child of gun rights. They try to ban something here, and then it gets appealed to the federal legislature or the federal courts, and then it eventually ends up in the Supreme Court, and it always gets reversed, and it's just this like ridiculous cat and mouse game. I think we're still currently in the middle of a magazine capacity ban, but I don't know. I just like stopped listening to what was going on with those, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that one's at. But famously, we were the ones who got the concealed carry ban in the city of Chicago overturned, and that I think it was 2015. All sorts of ridiculous gun laws have been tried to pass in the state, and for whatever reason, there's just a fierce group of people that just aren't willing to take these state bans and fight it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and have been very, very successful. And so I hope we don't have to end up in the Supreme Court over this, but
Right.
there's certainly some pre-existing formats to follow in this state.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I mean, it's like, which avenue do we take? Well, that's why we kind of created this group, so that we're all kind of, many hands make light work kind of idea. So we're not stepping on each other's toes, but we're trying to attack it from all fronts.
Have you actually talked to anyone that can explain the reasoning behind this, or was it like we just woke up one day and this was here?
Like I said, we were in the room in February. We're in the rooms and not a mention of it. And when I followed up with some of the legislators that are, more friendly to Bitcoin, they were blindsided. And
You
like
know-
I said, one of the authors of the budget that I talked to didn't really have any understanding of the details when I talked to them. So it's definitely one of those things they just threw in. But now that we did it, guess what? New York just imposed their own, or are wanting to pass their own 0.2% transaction tax.
I was
So
gonna say
there's the slippery slope aspect.
this feels very much. I don't know if did this bill come from the governor's office or was it?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. So for those that don't know about the Pritzker family's past, they are some of the most corrupt. Their ties go way back to all the organized crime, all the groups that started after World War II ultimately led to Epstein and all of that. His family, the Pritzkers, are right in the thick of all of that. They were some of the OGs in that sort of enterprise that blossomed into the ruling oligarchy class, whatever you want to call them today. They're some of the OGs in that. And the second I heard this, I was like, this sounds exactly like something that came from some of the insiders that are on the financial side of things, that Bitcoin poses a threat to them and their existence, and he is just doing the bidding of whatever money control center is behind him and his family and everyone else, and tied up in that network of people. And that's so funny you said New York's trying to do. I was like, I guarantee this is the first, and they're going to try to do this everywhere. This just reeks of some top-down diktat out of nowhere that they're going to try to get their foot in the door right now. 0.2%, how could you be against it? And then the next thing you know, it's going to be 20%, and you'll go to the gulag if you're not complying. Yeah.
It's so fiat.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh man, if you, I know you guys are doing like 8 million things, but if you ever get some dedicated time and resources to put at the origin of all of this, I would be very curious to where this came from. But because I bet you could trace it back to a handful of like 10 names that probably had something to do with this.
I can't verify. You'll want to verify this yourself, but I remember early on reading that. So I knew Curtis Tarver, senator, representative. I can't even remember off the top of my head. There's so many of them. He was the one who brought it forth, who sponsored it, and then in an interview shortly after that, and I saw this in some news clip, that he even knew ahead of time that it wasn't going to pass. He's like, "Oh, I'm sure there's issues with it." It was one of those things like, we're just going to put it through anyway. It's like, why are we suggesting things that you don't even have faith in? It's like, isn't that just wasteful of time and resources?
Tim, you mean it was going to pass, but it's going to be
pushed back.
Yep.
Found unconstitutional or whatever.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, it just we don't have to belabor the point here, but there's just so many things wrong with it. But again, it's like we're living in this kind of pseudo lawless land where it's like selective enforcement, and it doesn't really matter that things are unconstitutional. I mean, every block here in Chicago has a camera on it. Like, that's just completely unconstitutional, and they've never cared. It's just more of them go up every year, and a lot of this stuff doesn't even matter. So I mean, I again, not to get too political, but it's like, yeah, it is unconstitutional, it is illegal, but I could easily see some ridiculous judge standing it up. So,
well, there's two reasons why this tax specifically is unconstitutional. One of it has to do with the uniformity clause. So we don't do transaction taxes on stocks or bonds, right? Other financial.
Them. Yeah, right.
Yeah, just for.
Yeah.
So think of all the financial instruments that don't have a transaction tax. So why focus on? So there's an unconstitutionality right there, and then the other one is kind of like that 50 toll booth scenario that I said, the Internet Tax Freedom Act, that you're trying to get your cut of something that's supposed to be global, but at least nationwide. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long road, and we didn't get into this for an easy path. So I mean, like one of you guys were mentioning earlier, Jeff, I think about people moving away. I've had a lot of people ask me, "Are you going to move? Well, you should just move." And I'm like, "No, man, this is my home. They're the suckers that need to get out of here."
I mean, also true. I do agree with that. Speaking of other states, are there other states doing? I think there's a Michigan Bitcoin Council.
Yeah,
Or
Amber
yes,
Harris
but
out of the Michigan Bitcoin Trade Council. Jeffrey Carson down in Georgia is creating one. I know of there's like some Tennessee Bitcoin or Blockchain Alliance. I know Oklahoma has a Bitcoin nonprofit group. Um, Obviously, the Ohio Blockchain Council and the Texas Blockchain.
Texas.
Yeah. But as far as Bitcoin only, us, Michigan, Georgia's coming along. If anybody's heard of any else, get them in contact with us.
Yeah. Have you had people reach out to you at all, ask about getting one started in their state or?
Yeah. Jeffrey,
Yeah.
we met through the Bitcoin Veterans.
Bitcoin veterans.
Yep. And Amber and I have been discussing we need to create like a national umbrella to help bootstrap different states. So not so much financial support, but educational support, infrastructure, and that kind of trying to figure out how to make it all fit inside 501 rules, nonprofit rules, is tricky.
Yeah, and well, just kind of have like a playbook, right?
Yep.
Where do you
Well,
focus your time?
yeah,
Yeah,
BPI has like an SBR playbook for states,
yeah,
right? So have something similar to that for states, but this is how you get your council up and running, and all the way from like finding an attorney to getting a board members to having your quarterly meetings, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
It's
All the fun.
all those little things that take up a little bit of time, a little bit of money, and you gotta have the support for that. So
Yeah, and I mean, even just knowing what it is, like, oh yeah, I guess we do need a board. I guess we do need a treasurer. I guess we do need a secretary. All these things you don't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
yeah,
much
it's just
fun.
like the little things of just like if you're gonna have a website, well, you're gonna have to pay for that. You have to pay for the hosting, all those little things that you don't really think about. You know, setting up an email address. Who's gonna host that? So it,
Yeah,
It's been a fun
it's like a
road.
death by yeah, it's like a death by a thousand cuts. It's a
Yeah.
little here, a little there, and it's like, oh geez, next thing you know, it adds up.
yeah. I mean, as someone running a startup here, I can relate for sure. All those little dinks and dunks. It's frustrating. And then you wake up and you look at a spreadsheet and there's like 27 things on there, and you're like, how did I get here? And you're like, can
Yeah.
I get rid of that one? No. Can I get rid of that one? No. And it's, how do I need all this stupid stuff here?
And honestly, that's kind of what I mean for the members. If you do buy a membership with the IBC, I mean it's $21 paid in fiat or Bitcoin, either way. But that's what you're helping us do is maintain our day-to-day operations. Because and Tim and I, we do this, because we're passionate about Bitcoin. We both have full-time jobs, and we're not doing this to make any money. We're doing this to make a difference in the state. That's the reward for me. I'll speak for you, Tim. Yeah, it's like we're trying to make a difference in the state. We're not trying to make a ton of money doing this. So
100% agree.
Yeah, well, it's very noble what you're doing, and like I said, I'm glad you guys are doing it because it doesn't interest me, and yeah, I would love to see one of these popping up in every state, and that would
Iowa
be
needs one.
I think it's a matter of time, to be honest. I really do. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the best thing that Bitcoin taught me was a low time preference, and um, that's what's gonna win us out in the long run, is to be able to continually just plug away and continue to grind and grow, especially through bear markets. You know what I mean?
especially through
It's rough.
bear mark, especially through bear markets with catastrophic hardware failures and chain splits and everyone at each other's throats, and yeah, I mean
I,
this has just been pandemonium, man.
it really has.
It's
Go ahead.
I don't know. I didn't have anything to say. I was just chuckling. It's just listening off all the things that are going on. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like we're gonna look back, 4 or 5 years from now, and be like, man, that was crazy.
It's like all the different stab wounds and the arrows coming in. It's like it's just a mere flesh wound, you know. Like,
Yeah. But the
I don't know about
flesh.
you. When did you? What year did you get in, Brandon?
I bought my first Bitcoin in 2018, but
Me too.
admittedly, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of like had it as part of my portfolio. I left it
Yeah,
on an exchange, and then, bought a little more along the way and just kind of added to it as I added to other stocks and mutual funds and things like that. And then 2020 during the pandemic is when I really went down the rabbit hole and just got
that's
completely radicalized and really went all in.
almost exactly like my story.
Yeah,
2018, started nibbling. By 2020, oh shit, and yeah, that's crazy. Well, that means both of us have been through what, four or five 50% drawdowns, something like that.
yeah. At least I mean, honestly, the drawdowns. What's been so crazy is this past week everything that's gone on with the cold card. I had plenty of people in my life, regrettably that I had on single sig self or device generated seed phrases that fortunately we were able to get everything changed in time and all that and no
Sweet.
one lost anything. But like, I mean, I haven't been following the price, caring about the price. I haven't even like been looking at it these last 4 or 5 days. And
Hmm.
like that part of it is just the drawdown part of it doesn't even register anymore. It's things like this, like
Yeah,
with the wallet failure or the arguing over
the
which chain we're going to be on, everyone hating each other, everyone getting into camps, everyone calling each other out. You have to be on this team or that team. And like, to me, that's the real bear market. Like, that's just
yeah,
like, listen, the last bear market, we were down at, 15K.
18, 15,
Yeah,
something.
now we're at 60K. So it's like, oh, great. Maybe we go down a little more from here, but like we're still close to the bottom, somewhere around 3 to 4 times higher than the last bottom. And it's like, what else could you ask for, really? It's all the
Yeah,
other stuff that comes with the bear market that's just pure pain.
yeah. And I went through that too. Like I co-host Lincoln Land Bitcoin here in Springfield, and the cold card was the what I recommended. I had one. Luckily, I created my own entropy. You know, I rolled the dice. So, but and luckily, I was able to make sure everybody that I suggested it was safe. But still, I mean, to you're right. That is the worst right there. Price be damned, you know. But a lot of the stuff, the BIP 110s and the whatever, it all that infighting that you're talking about, it seems to be like near the end of a bull market or bear market when that happens. So hopefully
It's a
that's the signal.
I agree. It's usually a good bottom signal, and I'm praying that's the case this time around. And
Right.
it would just be fantastic if whatever, I forget what block it is, 6 or 9, 6 2 or whatever, it activates, and like that's just the bottom, and then it's just up from there. Like that would just be perfect.
Hack, fork, and then no regulation passing,
Yeah,
and then we go up.
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, just clear it all out. Just
All right.
Yeah, just a full system cleanse, just
Yeah,
a
I
just
like
a
it.
colonic
Yeah,
for the system.
Well, I
there is
mean,
some, yeah,
Bitcoin doesn't have
there,
bailouts, so
yeah, and there is some silver lining to all that. Like you're pointing out, it's with the cold card hack. I mean, it's the silver lining is we are going to be heavily scrutinizing our code, and it's gonna the developers of these devices are gonna have to use tools, the AI agents, to really dig deep into the code and find out more if the code that they've written is actually working correctly. It's going to make the industry much safer.
It,
Ready
it
to
is.
go.
It is going to make things much more hardened, much more secure. And listen, it's going to, I'll take it to my grave that I regret, not having friends and family do the dice rolls. I did the dice rolls, and that's why legitimately the reason I bought the cold card was it was air gapped and you could do your own dice rolls. And then I just I just didn't have the people I signed up for do the dice rolls, and like I will kick myself till I die for that. But also the larger lesson of that was I never clearly looked at the code, and I'm not capable of looking at the code, but other people are. I could have reviewed their work. Like, for example, Portland Hoddle, I forget if it was last night or 2 nights ago, put out on GitHub a full proof of verifying that like the entropy from the dice rolls on the cold card were legit. And it's like, that's going to be the standard going forward for every wallet now. It's just like yes, Trezor, for example, it's open source, it's reviewed, has a lot of eyeballs on it, but like until now we're going to start having like actual documentation of auditors doing their work, and it's going to be much easier too because you're going to have these agents that are doing the work, and then you'll just be able at the end to be like, write a report, post it to GitHub. And so we're going to get this documentation and this verification that we're actually going to be able to look at and say, okay, I've read this, I've made my decision, as opposed to just like, well, I heard this one's good, or I heard that one's good, and we're going to actually be able to make informed decisions as opposed to, I don't want to call it groupthink, but there was definitely an element of like, hey, this really smart, technically savvy person's using it. They store their money on there. I should do it as well.
The irony of
Yeah.
don't trust, verify, not being
Yeah.
trusted and not verified. The
Yeah.
irony of that is
Yeah, exactly. And
painful. Yeah.
Yeah,
and being
it is. There is a lot of irony, but
Yeah.
and for me myself, like I'm not a developer. I couldn't verify if I
Yeah,
could
me either.
the
Yeah.
code of a device. I wouldn't even know what to do. So I have to trust.
But now you'll at least be able to read something where someone's done the verification, and you can be like, okay, I will. Just like I'm not, a scientist, but I can read the experiment, right? Like I can read what it'll be like the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then hopefully we don't run in this situation where then it gets captured and you back into conclusions by people funding the reports and whatever. But I'm hoping to avoid that. But I do think it will harden things going forward for sure. I mean, I've completely changed my view. I mean, listen, like I always recommended multi-vendor, multi-sig as the most secure, but like I wasn't doing that personally, and it's like, well, I'm damn sure now going to do that. So I'm in the middle of like
Speaking of that,
thinking my whole
do
setup
you
and everything.
see that as so, Brandon? Do you think that is where the trend of people storing their Bitcoin will be? Is to go to an on-ramp or one of these other companies?
Sorry. When
like
I say
that?
multi-vendor, I mean a multi-wallet vendor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not necessarily institutions, but like instead of having 3 cold cards or 2 cold cards and a Jade or something like that, or 2 cold cards and a Trezor, it's going to be like a Trezor, a Jade, a Bitbox, whatever it is.
The problem I see with that, though, and I'm with you. Their self custody needs to be enforced and available, but also easy. And I read somebody say it's like we're not going to onboard the next million people by having them roll a dice 100 times. And when you start adding in multi vendors, then the complexity of that. Most people set up a bank account just by going to the bank once and signing, and then it's all done for them, right? So.
Yeah, and to each their own. Everyone can make their own decision. I'm just saying, for me personally,
No,
I'm
right?
just like that's, and I'm capable of doing it. I just didn't,
I
So,
guess what I'm getting at is the
yeah,
the ease of use of it is not going to or lack of ease of use of it's not going to help adoption specifically in self-custody. And then this might be spun to push more people to exchanges, which doesn't that like increase the honeypot or the chance of a 6102 down the road?
For sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. I don't want
there's
people
there's no solutions, only trade-offs, I guess is what I'm saying.
exactly right. And
Yeah.
so, but I also do think, new wallet manufacturers will come out, and I mean, like, listen, at the end of the day, if obviously the cold card had a catastrophic bug in it, but if it actually didn't and could generate proper entropy, it would be the best hardware wallet out there by far. Like, you could air gap it. It was pretty self-explanatory. It was interactive with, all the software out there, and I honestly only used it to send and receive. I didn't use any of all the other features, and thank God I'm too stupid to do that, because I could have foot gunned myself on that as it's coming out now that those extra features were no bueno. But I do think more solutions will come to market for a ease of use, air gapped, because I love the micro SD card, but whether it's a QR code or micro SD card, that concept of being air gapped and being able to create your own entropy, or at least have a device that properly creates entropy, I do think there's a lot of value there, and I think
100%,
more
yeah.
products will be coming to market. So right now it's not great. Right now it's always going to be trade-offs, but there's more trade-offs right now. But I think those trade-offs will get less and less over time.
What do you think the future of CoinKite will be?
I mean, just
do you-
bankruptcy, burn to the ground, prison time. I don't know. Like, anything's on the table, none of it good.
Yeah,
So
I think there's going to be some serious lawsuits, but it's like, how? Yeah, I
What
don't
can
think they're
you-
going to.
what can you get back? And even though these guys did some horrible programming and code, they're clearly competent with using Bitcoin and self-custody and security, and all the reasons we don't want the state to be able to come take our money from us. They have those same defenses too, and it turns out they're bad actors, and people are, I don't want to say bad actors for sure at this point in time. We don't really know a lot of damning evidence, but certainly negligent actors at best. And so, but they certainly know how to protect everything they have. So to the extent that you can even enforce any of this against them, and it's going to be a saga for sure.
It's going to take probably a few years for this to all play out.
I would imagine at least. I mean, it'll probably take a few years just to figure out what happened, and then another few years to sort everything out and track them down. How long did the Bitfinex hack took? That was like 4 years or something, right?
Well, I mean, and not chain analysis itself, but looking at the chain has gotten easier to understand, and we see all of this stuff on the same wallets, right? So
they mixed some. One of them mixed some coins this morning, but
oh, did they? Okay.
yeah. But the only reason the Bitfinex hack people got their coins back was because they stored their seed phrase digitally in like a Google Drive doc, and or like on a, maybe it was just a Google. It was a Microsoft doc in a folder or a USB or something somewhere, so they were able to get it. But I mean, as terrible as the code was for these cold cards, like, these guys are not going to make that mistake. And
yeah,
although I guess it's different, right? The hackers are not the CoinKite guys, maybe they
right.
are, but yeah. So, but either way, someone this technically competent is not going to make a mistake like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure a documentary will be made in like 2035, and we can all we can all look back on it and be like, oh yeah, I lived through that hell. So
I was there, man.
yeah, I didn't want to be there, but I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, anything else you guys want to get to before we wrap here? Final thoughts or any
Well,
topics we didn't
I,
get to, real quick.
I think you mentioned it. I want to. I don't want to end down. I want to end up a little bit.
Oh
And
yeah,
you
we'll
kind of
end on a
mentioned
positive note for sure.
yeah, but the whole gathering that we had, Fork and Coin, there is that silver lining there. Like initially, I was all like, "Oh shit," word for myself. Immediately, "Oh shit," word for all the people that I suggested. Cold card too, and then after I started processing a little bit, I selfishly said to Jeff, I was like, "Shit, couldn't this have waited till after our event?" Jokingly, but in retrospect, it's actually a good thing because, like you mentioned, it gave us a chance to come together. It gave us a chance to, like tear in the beer, strength through adversity, through shared adversity, and it can be, it could easily be a bottom signal. Like this is where we turn around from. We've learned from our mistakes. Bitcoin is anti-fragile. We're going to move forward, and events like that, and also Chicago Bitcoin Collective, they're having their value for value coming up mid-September. Want to help support
Heck yeah.
them.
Yeah.
If you're in and around Chicago, check them out.
Even if you're not flying for it, it'll be worth it.
Do it. So yeah, a lot of positives coming out of Chicago, coming out of Illinois.
Fork and Coin's an amazing place and highly recommended. It's going to be hopefully the nucleus that builds out and slowly grows and builds more of this Bitcoin community and this Bitcoin ecosystem. And I think that should be the hub of Illinois is coming out of Fork and Coin. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, I love it because it's the first co-working space with a restaurant in it. So, like Pub Key is bar restaurant only. The space in Denver, the Nashville, and
Park, Bitcoin Park.
Nashville, yeah, Bitcoin Park, and in Nashville, and there's a couple other places. They're co-working
Austin.
spaces, but yeah, Austin, the Commons. But there's not actually like a restaurant or like a social gathering spot with like a staff and people there and interacting with the neighborhood and things like that on top of it or literally below it in this case. But
I could easily
yeah.
see that facility growing rapidly to where they would have to find a new location to expand to be able to do
I would
these
love that so
lar-
much that the restaurant's just overwhelmed and we have so many people clamoring.
Franchise it.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go.
that would be cool. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
but
be an interesting idea.
yeah, but you
It
gotta find someone to make Foy's recipes, so and then
Yeah,
cook it properly.
dude.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
he's
That's
got
the
some
hard part.
skill. He's
yeah
got
I,
skill.
I could tell from the menu that it was going to be good, but I still was blown away.
I was
So
floored.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
incredible.
But yeah,
All right, well,
I'm very excited. I'm hopeful. It's an exciting time for Fork Coin and the CBC, and it's going to be amazing what that place can do.
I'm so excited to be a part of it. It's great. I love going there. I love the events there, the food there. Just even going in during the week. I drop my son off at my in-laws, which are like 10 minutes from the place, and then I just work out of there for the day. And there's always a few people walking around, have some great conversations. The workspace is great, and
That's awesome.
it's the best. Yeah. So if you're in Chicago and you're not a member, I would highly encourage you to check it out. It's the ChicagoBitcoinCollective.com, or it might just be ChicagoBitcoinCollective.com. I forget. Try it with the and without, and you should definitely become a member. And if you're in town, stop by the restaurant, please. All right. Well, if people want to reach out, and one thing I wanted to say when we were kind of on the topic is, I know there's a lot of people out there that are that want to do something in Bitcoin, but they're like, I can't quit my job, or I'm not a coder, I'm not a dev, I don't want to run a meetup. Maybe this is something, and it sounds like there's a lot of states that need something like this. So odds are you're in a state that doesn't have something like this and just needs some initiative and someone to get it off the ground. And you don't even have to do the heavy lifting of trying to figure this all out. Someone's done it before you and is more than happy to help and be a resource. So if you are thinking about doing something outside of technical or financial work, just something that anyone can do if you have a pulse and a willingness, a drive, and ability to interact with other human beings, that this is something you could do. Tim and Jeff, what I would highly recommend your first step being getting in touch with Jeff and Tim and talking to them and saying, hey, give me some guidance here. So with that
Also,
in mind,
yeah.
go ahead, Tim. Yeah.
No, in addition to that, late September in Ohio is the Midwest Bitcoin Summit. We'll be speaking there, and that's actually the topic of one of our talks is building state councils and, ground up kind of organization. So just want to shout out Andrew Tillman there, Midwest Bitcoin Summit.
Fantastic. Yeah, check that out. And yeah, please reach out to Jeff and Tim. And so with that, Jeff and Tim, where can people find you?
IllinoisBitcoinCouncil.org is where we're at. We're on the socials, ILBTC Council on X. We got a Facebook page, Instagram, all over, Noster, Club Orange.
And that's Council,
Yeah.
CIL, not SEL. This is not a
Thank
legal.
you, yes.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's legal,
Yep.
but it's not law-like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're all over.
just,
Reach out anyway.
Yeah. Email me at jeff@illinoisbitcoincouncil.org.
Or Tim at IllinoisBitcoinCouncil.org. Happy to help out in any way.
There you go. Super easy. So yeah, please reach out to these guys if this has piqued your curiosity or you have any interest in doing this. These guys have done the heavy lifting already, so get a hold of them and they'll point you in the right direction. As always, you can check us out at Sovereign, SOBREIGN.io. That's the best way to get a hold of us. Our X handle is at SovereignBTC. I'm Plebeianon on Noster. And if you want to find me on the Fiat Legacy platform, LinkedIn, and just my name, Brandon Karpeles, you can find me there. So thank you guys so much for listening. And Jeff and Tim, thanks for coming on. Always love talking about the great state of Illinois. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.